My husband cheated on me with my best friend while I was pregnant and hospitalized, so I kicked him out and refused to let him into the delivery room. I also stopped his late father's name from being passed on. This is a throwaway account because I'm so annoyed and need to vent. This will be a lot, so I'm sorry in advance. I, 28F, had been together with my husband, 27M, for nearly 10 years. We got married at 21, had our first son a year later, followed by our daughter 3 years after that. I built my whole life around my family. We had good jobs, he worked full-time, and I worked from home. We had a nice home in a great neighborhood and put our children in good schools. We also had a successful business on the side. I thought we did everything right. My best friend since middle school lived close by. We had our daughters around the same time, and we had playdates all the time. We leaned on each other a lot. I supported her when she was dealing with issues with her daughter's deadbeat father and got her in contact with a good lawyer. She supported me when I was recovering from my traumatic second birth and the depression that followed. We leaned on each other for everything. 10 months ago, I found out I was pregnant for the third time. I was really uneasy about it because of my traumatic experience the second time. My husband and I had both agreed we were done after our 2 children. I considered termination, but my husband insisted we keep the baby. I was still uneasy about the pregnancy and borderline miserable for the next 6 months. I was diagnosed with hyperemesis gravidarum and was throwing up 20 times a day for 6 months straight. I lost a ton of weight, had to stop working, and was frequently hospitalized due to severe dehydration. My husband stood by me and showered me with attention, for which I was so grateful. He cut down his hours at work to take care of me, the house, and the kids. My best friend frequently came to our home to check on me and help with the house. By the time I hit 6 months, the hyperemesis gravidarum had decreased a lot, and I was almost back to myself. One night, after a movie night with my family, my husband and I were getting ready for bed. He fell asleep right away, and I quickly checked on the kids before climbing into bed. His phone was vibrating like crazy. Out of genuine curiosity, I unlocked it. We used to do this a lot when we were younger, so I didn't think too much of it. I was already sitting in bed when I saw the notifications, spam messages from my best friend. One of them said, "Please come over, I need you." Another said, "I know I shouldn't be messaging here, but I miss you. Come over when she's asleep." I think I sat there in a daze for nearly 5 minutes. I cried quietly, and suddenly all my fatigue was gone. I scoured his phone looking for more. I found emails and DMs between them. They even used apps like Kik to message each other. There were pictures too, ones I wish I could erase from my memory. But the worst part was finding out that my husband had left me in the hospital with my mother one time, gone back home where my kids were being babysat by my best friend, and got intimate with her in our bedroom, with our kids in the house. The next morning, I confronted him and kicked him out. I filed for separation shortly after. For the next 2 months, he begged for forgiveness. When that didn't work, he shifted to complaining and insulting me. He accused me of not letting him see his kids or stopping him from going to doctor's appointments with me, which was a lie. Months earlier, we had planned who would be in the labor room, my mother and him. When I was 35 weeks pregnant, he called questioning the labor situation. By this point, he had moved in with my ex-friend. Shortly before the call, I told him no. He got very angry. Many of my in-laws and family members told me to put our differences aside for the baby. I still said no. I gave birth to my son with my mother and sister present. I didn't regret my decision at all. After my second traumatic birth, I just wanted to make sure this one was as stable as possible, and it was. We were going to name our child after his father, who had passed away. I initially agreed to it to make him happy, but later I changed my mind. I picked a name I had always loved since childhood. This aggravated him even more. Am I wrong for doing that? I'm being guilt-tripped by so many people right now. All I want is for everyone to leave me alone so I can focus on being with my kids. Edit, just wanted to add that I do let him see the kids. That would be crazy if I didn't. My children love their dad. I just have certain boundaries now that we're not together, and he doesn't respect them. He gets angry and says things that are categorically untrue. He got to meet our newborn son just hours after I gave birth. Update, 11 months later. So, I'm back after nearly a whole year. I completely forgot about this post because I've been so wrapped up in other things. My baby just turned 1 today, and after celebrating his birthday and Christmas with my kids, it finally hit me, this is my new reality. First off, my ex-husband and I finally went through with the divorce proceedings. I had been holding off during my pregnancy and early postpartum period to avoid added stress and to carefully plan for my children and myself. I was awarded primary physical custody of our children. Their dad visits once a week, and the 2 older kids, 7 and 4, spend every other weekend with him. My youngest will start doing the same in a couple of months, which makes me nervous. He's especially clingy with me. All my kids are, but my youngest has really only known me as the most present parent. One of the main stipulations in our custody agreement is that my ex's affair partner is prohibited from seeing the kids. My poor kids have been confused enough by their parents' sudden split, and I didn't want them even more confused by seeing their aunt, who was supposed to be mommy's best friend, with their dad. It was deemed emotionally detrimental in court. As for the baby's name, my ex-husband has been so bitter about it. I think he's still annoyed. His side of the family has been trying to convince me to change the name to something we both like, especially after the divorce was finalized. But it's been a year now, and the baby quite literally responds to the name I gave him. So, I'm not going to change it. He was also unhappy with the child support payments, among other payments, and asked for some revisions. One main thing he wanted to change was the cost of our kids' school tuition. He pays for their tuition, which he felt was too much and too harsh. But the court stuck with the original payments. As for my ex-husband and ex-best friend, they continued dating. I found out that they had started seeing each other a month into my third pregnancy. They had actually slept together during my second pregnancy but didn't pursue a relationship then because, as they put it, they weren't ready to ruin things and didn't want to hurt anybody. My ex's side of the family has been very supportive of their relationship, even inviting her to holiday gatherings like Thanksgiving and other family events. Because of this, my kids don't go to these events very often. After this whole fiasco, I'm coming to the realization that perhaps my ex's side never really liked me all that much. But that's okay. Eventually, I spoke with my ex-best friend to ask why they did it. She claimed that they were just friends but grew close while she was dealing with issues involving her deadbeat ex-boyfriend. Both of them insisted that my ex-husband just wanted to protect her, which supposedly turned into love. Hearing this hurt me a lot. But at the same time, I felt relieved to finally know the truth. When I sat with this information for a while, it stopped hurting. It made me realize that I didn't still love my ex-husband and could finally let go of him. In their betrayal, they did me a favor. I was holding on to something that wasn't real anymore. Interestingly enough, they broke up a week ago. Apparently, it's just a break, though. Who knows? Although my kids go to their dad's house every other weekend, it has helped a lot with making time for myself. Obviously, I'm still figuring out who I am without being a wife or a mom all the time. But in many ways, I find what happened to be a true blessing, which is why I'm no longer angry. As for me, I've been seeing someone. It hasn't been very long, nor is it that serious yet, but we get along great. Initially, my ex-husband made the whole situation difficult. He didn't want me to have any man specifically around the kids. He tried to control things, even though we were no longer together. I set boundaries to ensure that he couldn't dictate how I lived my life anymore. Edit: I don't know how to update posts properly, so my apologies if this is wrong. This is likely the last update. I just wanted to check in to let everyone know I'm okay. Commenter: good job, and never let that snake friend back into your life, even if she comes crawling back. Ops response: she claimed that I had not been the greatest friend to her at times during our very long friendship, either. I felt like strangling her in that moment. I couldn't think of a single thing I had done wrong that could warrant her doing that to me. But it is what it is. At the end of the day, I'm in a better place now. My kids are my priority, and we're happy. Life goes on.